Well, most people have no idea how to manage their money, so it's no wonder financial matters cause so much stress. And we were inundated with questions from you guys at home for today's Ask the Expert segment on personal finance. So joining us with all the answers is independent financial planner and principal of Quantum Financial, Claire Mackay. Welcome to the show, Claire. Thank you. All right, I want to get straight into it because we've got lots of questions to get through. Our first question is from Tracy, who writes, we bought a house nearly 12 months ago. We didn't have a deposit, so used my parents' home as our collateral. It was a family pledge. When we can refinance to release their home and when can we refinance and release their home and do some home improvements?
So a lot of families these days gave those family pledges to help their kids get onto the property market.
Yep.
It's great that she wants to get her parents taken off the risk.
Definitely.
That's a great idea. It comes down to your bank agreement as to if you've paid off the amount of the pledge, they might be able to take your family off. But it comes down to the contract that you've signed with the bank.
Okay.
Right. So you basically have to wait until you've paid off the equivalent of a deposit before they'll come to the table.
Possibly, yeah. So, but know those numbers, know what the terms are and get there as quickly as possible because it's not fair on your parents to have that risk.
Yeah.
Okay. Our next question is from Lisa, who says, my 90-year-old mum-in-law wants to sell her property, gift some of the proceeds to my brother-in-law and use the rest to buy a new home where she will live with my husband and me. She is a DVA gold card holder and on a war widow's pension. Will doing this impact her pension or the current services she gets?
This is a really complicated area. The first thing is there is a great website for DVA beneficiaries, so go there. The general principle is that you're allowed to gift away $10,000 a year up to a maximum of $30,000 over a 5-year period. So put it this way, if you sell your home for $900,000 and you buy the new home for $850,000, you've recognised $50,000. That $50,000 will be included for DVA purposes. But if you give away $10,000 to the brother-in-law, then it's only $40,000 that's included.
Right.
But if you give away $15,000, you're still calculated on the $40,000.
Oh.
So this is a little bit complicated.
Yep.
So go to the website for DVA and then go to Centrelink. There is a great financial information service there which is free and they can help you navigate what the implications are.
So a war widow's pension is calculated differently to the normal pension, is that right?
Centrelink looks after all of those areas,
Right.
but they are different because obviously a war widow's pension is because your partner served overseas.
And if but we're encouraging retirees to downsize, move into apartments, and free up the property market for first home buyers. Are you saying that if they do that, sell their house and get that money, that then gets calculated as income and could hurt their pension?
Only the $50,000, only the excess. Because if you're buying a new home, that's not included.
Yeah.
Your home is exempt.
Lots of information to get to.
All right, next up, I'll have to put my glass. Oh, we have Kate. And Kate writes, our financial planner has advised my husband and I to use the equity in our home to borrow money to invest in shares. He's told us to borrow the maximum amount that the bank will give us. We're both in our 40s and afraid of having lots of extra debt on top of our mortgage. So does it sound like a good idea to you, Claire?
Well, Kate, this is a really common question. My advice generally to everyone is pay off your mortgage with, laser-like focus as quickly as possible. And then focus on investing and growing your wealth. My most successful clients paid off their mortgage very quickly and then they built up their wealth. In a record low interest rate environment, I think it's better to pay off your mortgage and because investing is risky, whereas you know with 100% certainty that your mortgage is going to be there. And given you're concerned about the amount of debt you're taking on, I'd focus on that first.
1,000%. And also your house will probably increase more than the share market will. Now, next we have a question from Justin, who writes, I'm a uni student and have a bit of extra cash. Well, that story doesn't check out, to play around with. I'd like to start investing in stocks. The problem is I have no idea where to start. Give me a few tips and tricks to investing and tell me where I can find out more.
He thinks an art student.
Well, awesome. Justin's fabulous to be able to, think about investing while he's still studying. That's awesome. The first thing is recognise, that he's recognising he doesn't actually know much about it, which is great because a lot of
So
people.
he's definitely an art student.
But at least he's thinking about that.
Yeah.
So read as much as you possibly can. Go to your local library, go online and buy books that are encouraging you to understand about investing. The other thing I'd say is don't invest everything you've got. You're a student, you probably want to go on a holiday at some point, you probably want to start building up a deposit. So
Drink too much beer.
Drink too much beer. So you probably want to start with a small amount of investing and learn as you go, which can be an expensive
Is there such a
proposition.
thing as a sort of safe investment these days? I mean, the old days blue chip stocks were like AMP. I mean, that was a pinnacle blue chip, and now it's just fallen through the floor because of this thing that no one saw coming. The banks are a bit the same.
Well,
is it as safe as it used to be?
Investing is always risky. So what I would say is start small, and you can. There are cheap online brokers. You can instead, the concern is if you've got a small amount, you can't have a diversified portfolio. So there are things called exchange traded funds. So you can buy them online directly, but instead of just having the investment in one share, you can actually have an investment in a range of shares.
We've got a few more questions to get to. We'd love to get to these. This one's from Amelia, who writes, we are retired and living on the pension. Are we able to borrow against our investment property and pay back if we sell it or once our children inherit it?
This comes back down to Centrelink again as well. So knowing and understanding the implications for your pension payment is really important. And so I would recommend you go back to Centrelink and talk to them about the options.
Right.
Okay, next one's from Jane, and she says, my husband recently started his own marketing consulting business in partnership with a colleague. I'm worried that our family home is in both our names, and I fear we could lose our house if something goes wrong with the business. How can we protect it?
Well, I think Jane's great to be thinking about this at the beginning. So the first thing is make sure all the agreements between your husband and his business partner are watertight. Make sure that the company itself has indemnity insurance, and then talk to your lawyers about the ownership of your home. So selling the home is obviously expensive. You can, if you're joint tenants, you could potentially split it into tenants in common, so that's not very expensive. But then, so it's only half of the home is in his name, and therefore only half the home is up for risk.
At risk, yeah.
Now, I've got a question here from Paul, who thinks he's overinsured. He says, I currently pay about $500 a month on life, disability and trauma and income protection insurance. I'm 54 and have a wife who works full-time and 3 children who are nearly grown up, but we still owe plenty on the mortgage. Do I really need disability and trauma insurance if I have the income protection cover?
Well, as we get older, insurance gets more expensive. That's just the nature of things. And we'd all love to have Rolls-Royce insurance, but it comes at a cost. So understanding what the purpose of each insurance is really important. They pay on different occurrences. So trauma pays on losing a limb or the diagnosis of a particular illness, but you can still work. Whereas total and permanent disability insurance pays out when you can no longer work. Income protection only pays for a set limited time while you can't work. So they are different. The best thing is to say, well, do we need all the insurance we have? He's got a mortgage. So that's an issue. So I would say get some quotes for maybe reducing the amount of cover, and as you pay off your mortgage with laser-like zeal, then you can potentially reduce it more.
And do the insurance companies pay out for trauma insurance if the premiums cost you an arm and a leg?
That's the million-dollar question.
Claire Mackay from Quantum Financial, thank you very much. You're fantastic.